Thank you very much. It's really good to be here, and thank you for attending this late in the day. It's an interesting story that I've got to tell because it's a genuine example of a new discovery that looks like it's on its way to something that has some real commercial relevance. And it's been found just by doing boots-on-ground exploration in a pretty well trod part of the countryside, 150 kilometres to the east of Kalgoorlie. So that's our terrain. We're looking eastward there towards Lake Rebecca. That's the end of the road, literally. We knew there was some mineralisation in the neighbourhood because there was some old prospects from the 1990s that had a lot of low-grade mineralisation around. It was quite clearly a mineralised system. We also knew there was cover heading northwards, which is towards that area, which is where we found the 770,000 ounces in one pit under about 20, 30 metres of transported profile. So that's where they're hiding. Pretty straightforward stuff, but it's taken us a little while to get there over the journey. That's the journey there. You can see it on the share price slide. Over time, we've added value, but a lot of the value initially came to the company through a phase of work we did in West Africa, in Côte d'Ivoire. And you can see that we had a run up there to a discovery that's, we've been monetising across the journey. And the entire time, this Lake Rebecca project was sitting in the back pocket. But it wasn't until in 2017 that we got our first drill hole into a structural target that we always like the look of. Under through this transported profile, got the first diamond hole into a high-grade lode, and we've been drilling out the Rebecca project ever since, and we've got to our first resources actually this time last year. So we've added value along the journey, but Côte d'Ivoire was really good, and it's kept us in pretty good shape financially because we've been divesting assets as we go, and we've still got quite a strong asset left in the portfolio, which I'll talk to later. Most of our shareholders have been around for the entire journey, which has been good for them and good for us. They're backing exploration, and we've kept our head down and kept a pretty tight structure across the journey. $18 million in the bank. We've got an EV of about 80 odd million at the minute. We've got 1 million ounces, so you can do the maths on these ounces. We like the look of them because it's got the combination of geometry, width and grade, and the engineers agree with us. Location is spot on. It's 150 kilometres by road from Kalgoorlie, 2.5 hours for the rigs to get from their yards to the drill site. The road out there is mostly the Tropicana construction road, so it's a big, pretty much all-weather piece of dirt. The nearest mill for us in terms of synergies might be the Carosue Dam operation that's now Northern Star. That slide needs to be updated, but that's 60 kilometres away. And location-wise, there's a bit of gold around us. We're at the southern end of the Laverton tectonic belt, which has got a lot of, pretty serious deposits up to the north near Laverton. We're definitely on one of the major structures, so it's seen the same fluids, and this thing has been sitting there undercover. Now, the asset itself, we knew there was ground, the prospects to the south, which I'll talk to, but the discovery is that really makes the difference, and this is the driver, this is what's going to make this thing into a hole in the ground one day, is the one pit, 775,000 ounces at the Rebecca deposit itself. It's got some pretty large-scale characteristics. It's a multiple lodes, and they fold around each other, so you get multiple structures on the one section. In that, there's a pretty high confidence component of 550,000 ounces of gold that sits in the indicated status. We got to indicated straight away through our first resource work because we drilled it to a high density because of the grade profile and trying to understand the shapes of it. Duke and Duchess are going to be really important to us to the south. Before I go there, we picked up a little bit more ground just recently and put that into the public domain. We needed a bit more operational space to get some the engineers a bit of elbow room around the operation that will be up there. So that was handy for us. That's changed the dynamics of why we might mine this thing. Duchess is 180,000 ounces, 4 kilometres to the south, and Duke's going to be very handy as well. Both of those are at indicated status at the minute. And then since last year, we've been working our way through the rest of the soil-covered terrain, and find new discoveries like the Cleo deposit, which I'll talk to. Now, we go about things in a pretty conservative way. They're real ounces because we only report what falls inside optimised pit shells. And the grey shape that we're looking at there in the top part of that slide is a 2250 Aussie grade shell, a pit shell using just run-of-mill mining operational costs, and we only report what falls inside that grey shape, and obviously only the indicated and inferred component. All the colours you can see outside it in the lower part, that's not reported, that's just mineralisation sitting out in space. So this deposit is mostly indicated, and we think we can add to the indicated component, but overall it's 1.7 kilometres in strike, it's half a kilometre wide, 300 metres deep. It's got multiple lodes that are up to 25 metres true width, so it's a pretty serious slab of rock. Just spin this around for you, and I've been having this going in the booth because we're pretty proud of it, but you can see there's multiple mineralised surfaces there. The closest bit towards the screen, towards the audience, is called Laura, and we've given them names, and then it folds around and it's called Maddie, and then the main really red patch there is the Jennifer lode. And that's what drives the economics. It's got a lot of really good grade in it. You can also see there's lots of mineralisation that sits out in the hanging wall and potentially now in the footwall as well, and that adds to the economics and drops the strip ratios. So that's the same shell looking to the west now. You can see the colourful stuff in the background that's inside the shell, but in the last 12 months we've been doing a lot of exploration work adding to the knowledge base here. We think we're going to change the shape of the pit in the next iteration. Definitely got some growth potential in it with these sort of intercepts with RC drilling. And then last week, or the beginning of this week, we put out some intriguing geotechnical drill holes in yellow there that they're actually on the east side of the pit in some areas that haven't got much exploration. So we think we can build some new positions out to the east of the pit. And then over the journey in the last 12 months, we've been drilling deeper holes below the resource. These are diamond holes. The intersects are a long way apart. They're not resources, but what it's saying to us is that the system is very much alive and well. Do some slicing and dicing. There's a lot of intercepts on here to look at. You can go through them in detail, but the important points are that in the southern part of the pit, there's some very high grades, and you can see some of the intercepts there. In the middle part of the pit, you get multiple surfaces, and you can see just visually there, the strip ratios look very reasonable and conform with what you might expect for a typical goldfields open pit operation. As you progress to the north, we get into the Laura lode. It's very tabular, very planar, quite strike persistent. It's supported by material that's in the hanging wall. It's also supported by material that's starting to emerge in the footwall. So it looks very typical. Again, quite nice looking strip ratios. In terms of the host rock, it's a bit unusual. It's high metamorphic grade. It's deep in the profile of the greenstone belt, so it's a granodiorite gneiss. It's got disseminated sulfides, which gives it its width and its geometry. There's free gold in it. There's also a component of pyrrhotite and chalcopyrite. Very gradational, so the central part of the system might be 1 gram, heading out to 0.5 gram and onwards and onwards. So it's, in a pit floor environment, very easy to see large-scale mechanised mining. We haven't gone deep into metallurgical test work, but the bottle roll we've done in the fresh rock material is giving us 90% recovery, and that's from all the different loads through the system. So we're confident it's going to work very well with conventional technology. There's definitely a free gold component, so we'll work on what can be done with the gravity circuit. We know that from breaking the core to put it into core trays, that there's superb looking rock conditions, so we can have the wall standing very steeply. So unusual rock type, but certainly it's got scale and it's got volume, and that's what we saw from the very first field trips we went out there. Now we've spent a lot of time in the Rebecca deposit. That drives the whole project, but there's plenty of space elsewhere. What we've found is from the Duchess deposit southwards, all the way up to Rebecca and across to Cleo, the whole area is under transported cover. You're looking at every drill hole that's any good that's been drilled on the project, and you're looking at a 1 kilometre scale bar through that area. A lot of space to drop in new deposits like Duchess or like Duke into the system, and each one of those is potentially another year of mine life. So we're going to keep the exploration rigs running through the course of this year and into next year, at the same time as making some real changes and decisions in the process of developing up the main deposit. On the exploration front, we've got some really good indications of what might be there. Some intercepts along this Duchess northeast corridor up to Cleo, where it's important. It might not be resources just yet, but it's very important in terms of understanding where else we might go looking for gold, because it's in a mafic rock, it's a different host, it's a different part of the stratigraphy, and it opens up a whole bunch of exploration targets elsewhere. So we're starting to get on the page a very long list of structural targets that we literally either haven't been to, or there's 1 or 2 holes, there's a sniff of gold. And that's where the real ounce build becomes important. The hunt will stay for the search for near surface pittable ounces that will supplement an operation on site. There's another look at Cleo. You can see it's quite a dark rock. It's completely different from the core I showed earlier. Very big area of anomalous gold, disseminated sulfides, same system. Not too sure what it is, but what we do know is that was sitting there completely blind in previous data sets. Now, Côte d'Ivoire, just a little bit on this. We've got a 1.2% royalty over the Segala Gold project. That's owned by a TSX company called Rox Gold. It's come a long way since we last had it. They're certainly got to the point now where at 1.4 million ounces of total contained gold and a grade above 2 grams, it's going to be an operation. That royalty has real value for us. We're getting, I suppose, expressions of interest from the royalty buyers that put some serious dollars on the table if we need to go there. At the minute, we've just been saying no, but at some stage, if we get further down the track, we'll engage. So that's us. We've got plenty of good news to come. We think we've got one of the very next generation of Eastern Goldfield stories. It's got the right combinations. It's got grade in the right places. It's got geometry. It's got one big simple pit that drives it. They're very hard to find these days. So we're very lucky to have been there and building it. The exploration progress is going to be ongoing. We've certainly got some interesting targets for the near term, just on the edge of the pit shell. And we've got multiple rigs going for the course of this year. In the longer term, there's definitely deeper diamond drilling to do below the system and build what might be an underground mine life at the back end of development. We're currently working towards what will be a resource update. So, hopefully we'll add on a few more ounces. We'll certainly try and do something in terms of bringing forward the remaining inferred ounces into a higher classification. On balance, we think we've got a pretty undemanding EV per ounce metric, and hidden in the background there's some value in there for the royalty. Plenty of money in the bank, plenty of things to do. At some point, we may even get to some sort of financial study decision later in the year. Anyway, it's been a really pleasurable journey to be on. I hope you can follow our progress in the coming months. Thanks a lot.